All right. And I just want to go ahead and give a thanks to our amazing sponsors, M&T Bank and the PNC Charitable Trust for making this happen. Um, and with on that note, I'm going to hand it off to you, Sam, and let's have let's have a great time.
Okay. Well, thank you all so very much for signing up for today's workshop. I'm super excited to share with you my experience in the
Ooh,
space.
Andy, it looks like your screen is still sharing.
It is. And we can't hear.
Mm,
Well, while we get that figured out, guys, thank you so very much for joining us today. You know, this retail space is such a thing. And I've learned a lot being here. Of course, in light of COVID now being a very real factor for all of us. Um, I guess it's important to really just share ideas as we just continue to try to create thriving businesses. So bear with me while I await if I can get my screen share here. Perfect. And I'm feeling good today. I'm feeling really good today. We're gonna go pick out a Christmas tree for the little one. So I'm awesome, and I hope you're feeling the same. I hope you're taking care of you amidst all the things that's going on outside. Let's get started. So today we will be discussing increasing your brand presence. This is a retail placement strategy session. I encourage you to ask questions, maybe jot them down. I will be pausing through in intervals to ask if there are any questions. So feel free to go ahead and raise your hand in the chat just to let Brian or Andy know that you have a question, and we'll go ahead and make sure that you are seen and heard. So, hey guys, I'm Sam. Uh, Most folks know me as Sam. My full name is Sheena Ariel McEacher, and I'm pretty sure that's something new for everyone on the line today. But I prefer to be called Sam. Sam is just an easy way to remember me. It's just, I love it. It's a nickname that I've had ever since I was a kid. So, hi. I am a designer and a creative professional. You may have seen me attached to the brand New Vintage by Sam. That is my company. It's the first business that I created, um, and it is true and dear to my heart. As a creative, I think when you reach a space of just wanting to share your story with the world, I think we overcome that fearlessness. Like that's step one, and then step two is just continuing to create and build the story. So here's a little bit of my work. When I first started, I called these beautiful pieces bracelets because, of course, I was just entering into creating for sale, which is, of course, if you never sold anything before and you finally get gutsy enough to say, hey, I'm going to put this out into the marketplace, sometimes you kind of deal with a little bit of imposter syndrome as you navigate, but it started out as bracelets, and now they have evolved to what I call healing hardware. So when you look at the New Vintage by Sam brand, you know that there are several things there in the story that I tell. One, I'm from Baltimore with love. Sorry about that. You guys still with me? Can everyone still hear me?
Yes. Yep. Yes,
Okay,
we can
perfect.
hear
Thank you
you.
so much.
We can hear you.
So, oh, thank you. So you know that I'm from Baltimore. You know that everything that I create is with love. Most folks are now getting into understanding my passion for styling as well. But these pieces, these healing hardware pieces, were literally stepping stones to the bigger picture that I am telling with my company as it grows and evolves. I started my business back in 2007. Oddly enough, I literally said I do like 2 days after I had signed all of my paperwork to truly take ownership of my own company. So it's really surreal sometimes when I think that, my marriage is also in alignment with my business anniversary. So that's pretty cool. Uh, you may have seen some of my work in Baltimore's Child. Some of the healing hardware was featured. And additionally, my story about being a mompreneur was shared as well. The Huffington Post actually showcased a style strategy article that I had created because I do style strategy, and what that means is basically making sense of fashion and style for you. They chose to highlight my words just to communicate the importance of having somewhat of a formula when you put together a brand and just making sure that it's cohesive as you tell your story. My healing hardware has been featured on Mr. Jadena himself in the GQ South Africa June edition. So that was super exciting to see. I did not actually make that happen. It was more or less, well, let me backtrack. I actually gave a piece of hardware to Jadena himself at a concert. However, his stylist kept him in that piece for the photo shoot, which was super dope because stylists generally remove all the things and just, put on the artist what they want to showcase. So I thought it was really cool that she saw value in my art and still wanted to leave it on him and highlight it. So here I am with my husband to the left and to the right, just me by myself. Pre-COVID was very cool because I was able to find ways to be able to insert my product into different spaces in the physical sense. It was fun also to bring my family on board. My husband, when I first got started, was very much involved. We've kind of now phased things out to include more of a different team, but he was nonetheless on board. And sometimes when you have family on board, that's a blessing in itself. But I would pop up all over the town, all over the city. I was everywhere. I was in Baltimore, I was in DC, I was in Virginia. I had standing locations in Baltimore where I would pop up. To the right, you see Payju's Lounge, which is a lounge in Baltimore, well, Baltimore County, in the Woodlawn area. So I would have a standing date with them each Wednesday. I would pop up. So these relationships were formed through folks that were in the marketplace with me, i.e. a friend who vends as well would share different events and so forth, like Over Accessorized Girls Night Out, this event to the left in the image with me and my husband. That is a monthly, or was a yearly event, I'm sorry, that Katie Marie would give. So pre-COVID, it was very easy to find so many different outlets to sell your product, to sell your merchandise in a physical sense. But now we're in a new age. So when it comes to retail placement, when I first started, I did not have a clue what I was doing, just keeping it completely real. What was most important was that I was not going to give up, and I was okay hearing no, because I just knew that it was another opportunity for me to go and continue to do the things and just not get discouraged. Sometimes when we hear no, we want to stop in our tracks and not continue going forward. But no to me just means that it's not happening right now, or maybe that's not the outlet I'm supposed to pursue. So I was just very, very adamant about making sure that you knew who I was, what I was doing, and you understood the value that I could bring to your business if we decided to collaborate. So my first retail placement store pre-COVID was here, a pop-up shop. I met these women. I believe one of them kind of reached out to me on the internet because they heard about my brand through another friend of mine, Andrea of Fly Nerd Apparel. And again, this is why community is so important when you are a maker, when you're a creator and an entrepreneur, because that whole quote, someone else is telling someone you're dope, that really is a thing. So it's important to continue to build your tribe in this space as you're building your business. So basically, Andrea kind of put the bug in their ear to reach out to me. We had a conversation. They saw my product. They felt that it was a good fit. They actually were two upper class white women, moms, wives. So they had a completely different demographic than myself. Their customer base was based out of Annapolis in Virginia. And at that time, I was literally just operating within the Baltimore City and county areas. So I had a little bit of a limited scope. So by partnering with them, I was able to gain some visibility in different areas from different people and continue to create that buzz for my business. Then we moved to For Rent Shoes, which is it was a local sneaker shop. They are no longer available or around, however, well, physically rather, but they were located at 515 Cathedral Street. For Rent Shoes was basically almost like my flagship stockist. because of the relationships that I built there. Not only was I there, but other makers that I had worked with before, vended with, for instance, Fly Nerd. There were so many other different companies that kind of passed through, but it was such a hub for creativity, for business-minded folks additionally. So it was super cool that the owner, Daniel, was able to create that, culture of community and commerce. And I think just being in that realm just allowed me to continue to adopt that attitude and just really see us as, a community, a family. We have an opportunity to create the lives that we want, and we also can align with other businesses and brands and spread the word about what we're doing in Baltimore. So For Rent Shoes was very instrumental in allowing me to place product there consistently. I had a very lengthy relationship with them. I would say it lasted for about 4 to 5 years. And I met a lot of people. I met Andy through For Rent Shoes, and that's how I got connected with Made in Baltimore. So as we kind of go through my history with retail placement, you see all of these other places listed: the Sable Collective, Keepers Vintage, Canopy Baltimore. These are all relationships formed after I, just put myself out there and just continue to not take no for an answer. So one of my biggest partnerships right now is with the Spice Suite. I am a Spice Girl, and this relationship was literally formed from just hopping on an opportunity that was posted to Instagram. I realized that that is the way of the world at this point. It's about just keeping your eyes open and also staying open. So, and also being intentional. When I had the opportunity to meet Angel in person, I had already, I don't want to say stalked her, but I had done my research. I knew that she owned a Spice Suite. I knew that she was a mom, a wife, and I really kind of got acclimated to understanding her story. So by the time that I got that call to come in and connect with her, it was, it was very easy. I followed the instructions. I made sure that I was there before our meeting time, that I was very clear and concise with what I was wanting to share with her, and that truly helped. So a lot of the times, as it pertains to retail placement and collaborations, it's really about making sure that you're ready. It's also about making sure that you know where you're, setting your eyes on, where you're setting your eyes so that you can make sure you have a list and check those things off that are necessary for you to even be considered. So as it stands now, I am still an active Spice Girl. I do pop up with the Spice Suite consistently each month. So as it stands now, I essentially have a flagship location in DC that allows me to service not only my Baltimore customers, but DC and Virginia customers as well, and also expand my reach because of the different offerings that we have under the Spice Girl and Tribe. We have just different, like this here is an actual Wix commercial that she tapped us to be in. We had an opportunity to raise our hands, and whomever was available participated. So just be ready. That's the biggest thing that I can say. Is just as you build your company, just continue to be clear about what it is that you're doing, the message that you're spreading, and just be as ready as possible. So again, I'm still popping up with the Spice Suite, but it was way juicier before COVID, and then there was COVID. And now we have a whole recalibration period in which we're really trying to figure things out. COVID, if there's anything more that we've learned, is just the importance of awareness, making sure that we take care of ourselves, and also if you have one or two options in this space as it pertains to your business. You can either flourish or you can fold. The difference between those two options is the middle piece, which is your creativity. So figuring out where you shine and honing in on that space is really going to help you to prevail in this time. All right, before I move forward, are there any questions? All right, so we know because of COVID, it's been a lot of slow growth. There's been a lot of changes, especially in the retail space. How we shop, how our customers shop looks totally different. It looks totally different. But that doesn't mean that there's not an opportunity to be better and to shine brighter in this space. I personally feel like selling on the internet is one of the best ways that you can expand your reach. Whereas when you're vending person to person, it is that one-on-one action and dialogue that's good because you get their trust, but you literally just have that one opportunity with that one person. So it's kind of just a single dimension. Whereas online, it's just you can have so many different voices in various outlets and really kind of plug your piece into each one to net a wider result. So we have online sales versus in-person sales. And with the city shutting down today at 5 o'clock p.m., we're going to have to mobilize more towards leaning in the online sales space just to keep it safe. But we'll definitely be reviewing both in the pros and cons as we explore the retail placement strategy option. So of course, in person, we have the opportunity to gain the customer's trust very quickly. I think the hardest thing for me as I sell the healing hardware and online, it was really important for me to continue to create that energy that one would feel at a pop-up shop, just have it translate online as well. It took me a little bit to figure that out, but I'll get into that later. So in person, you have that opportunity because you're developing that rapport face to face. They see you, they see and feel the energy within you, the inflection in your tone. All of that matters as it pertains to purchasing from the customer. You get to gauge responsiveness. You can literally give feedback right there, right in person, so that you can make the necessary adjustments. Some of the cons are, of course, right now it's riskier. We have communication barriers, of course, with those masks. I can't see anybody's face. Sometimes the glasses are foggy, my glasses specifically. Sometimes it sounds muffled, so it can kind of be a little bit difficult, and that can be a little bit much, as it pertains to just trying to communicate your product, what it does, and serve your customer efficiently. You're trying to talk through a mask, it can be a lot. And additionally, it can be physically and emotionally exhausting. And I say that because in-person vending events, you're hauling items there, you're picking up boxes, putting out product, engaging with people. And personally, this is just me. When I am engaged at a vending event, I am full on, I'm present, I'm there. Being an ambassador for your own product, you're very top notch in the product knowledge piece and customer service. And if you're doing it right, by the end of the day, you probably feel drained. So personally, that was one of my in-person cons, is just having to have that time to be able to, replenish myself, especially because it's just me, working this and being here and present. So just having to kind of spread myself out across can be a lot. So personally, I like online. I prefer online because it's safer. You have more sales outlets. You have the high energy that maybe you start with, that gusto can truly kind of be maintained a little bit more online. You could take a little pause of a break and then come back to that marketing email campaign. You can kind of disconnect from the internet and then log in a little later to make a post on social media. So you can, kind of tweak and put up your boundaries as need be and make it work for you online. And you have an opportunity to reinvent yourself. So when it comes to building your brand and your story, I mean, if you're listening to the tone of the world and how things are going in how people are experiencing their life, you may want to adjust some of your tactics, marketing tactics, the language that you're using with them. So that online is really, really good for being able to reinvent yourself and kind of getting inspiration from different sources so that you can apply it to your success. Some of the cons from online include just more communication being required to gain your customer trust. You will definitely need to be intentional about the words that you use to communicate the value of your product. A lot of the times I see that is the disconnect. As a creator, we love and see so much value in our product, but everybody outside of our homes, they may not know. They don't see it. They don't resonate with us like us. So we have to not assume that they know the value, but we really have to paint that picture for them. And that is a part of the storytelling process. And sometimes online shopping can feel a little disconnected. It can feel like, you're just putting products out there with no immediate response. because that instant feedback that you would get from a vending event, let's say, is lacking now. Sometimes you may not have any kind of response at all, or it may be lackluster, so you kind of might be in this limbo phase. So that can be a little bit of a touchy space. However, just keeping things safe and making sure that we grow our businesses still amidst COVID, online is definitely going to be an opportunity for you to make the mark. Any questions?
Looks like we have one question from MC in the chat right now.
Okay.
All right, they say, hi, Sam. Can you please share how you ask or convince the retailers to list your products in their stores?
And do that. Thank you so very much, MC. So before I get into answering that question specifically, let's get into the benefits of partnership and product placement at different retailers. So of course, you have the increased revenue opportunity. Brand visibility, widening your brand visibility is always a plus as it pertains to partnering with another company. Ultimately, a company or entity selling your products while you aren't there is a great way for you to make sales and not even have to be in the room. It's also just great because now someone else is taking on the responsibility of being an ambassador for your products, for your company, and so forth. You can also get product inspiration as well. I've done collaborations, private collaborations, and walked away with new package ideas, just new things to place toward my business to help me as well. And then new opportunities. You'll have a larger network because you'll have more brand visibility. So that can certainly net new opportunities if you allow it and embrace it. So as it pertains to placing or getting your products placed in different retail locations, it's all about the community piece. You have to research companies, entities that could benefit from partnership with your product. When I connected with For Rent Shoes, again, I kind of had a slight in because some other of my maker friends had already reached out to him. He was the owner. So when I connected with him, I was just asking him more about his brand and really kind of probing a bit more before I asked flat out if there was any opportunity for placement of another maker product. You don't want to go in really cold and really kind of pitch your product first off. You really want to do the work to research, connect, and add value first, because that is going to net you a better response in the space of just partnership. Especially now, it's about building a community and not just flat out asking someone to sell your product. So research is the #1 step. So who is your audience? You want to find out where they shop. And by internal customer, when I ask who is your internal customer, who are companies or other businesses who may be bigger than you or smaller or right, in that same growth area as you, that could also serve as a brand ambassador for your business. I'll give you an example. I recently did a partnership with Adjourn Tea House. So if you know the New Vintage by Sam brand, all about love and self-care, finding your peace, vibing so high. So a partnership with Adjourn Tea House was, to me, a no-brainer because her brand messaging is also in alignment with mine. She's all about, the adjourn, the pause, taking a break, having a moment to rest, to chill, to sit and sip. So it was literally a no-brainer for us to come together and create a unique package featuring a hardware, a bracelet piece, and a tea blend. The way that I connected with Latonia, who's the owner of Adjourn Tea House, is through a women's group. She's well networked. So the community piece is something that is going to connect you. So you may already have someone in your immediate circle or someone you've connected with before who may fit this profile as a company or entity whom you can connect with and see either a collaboration or an opportunity for product placement if they have a space to house your product. You also want to follow the retail trail and create a plan to connect. So we're going at this intentionally, guys. So we're researching who is going to be that internal customer, who can be that business who either wants to carry the product or be somewhat of a mouthpiece in our absence. This is all about having our brand reach expanded. So when you talk about connecting, you want to attend networking or industry specific or related events. Of course, we're going to be translating that more to the virtual space. So those platforms you may want to review are like maybe Eventbrite or Clubhouse is a new application that I've recently just learned about. So I'm kind of tinkering with that now so that I can find even more of my tribe and just kind of funnel them back to the New Vintage by Sam space. But you want to find creative ways to connect with these people. You know, search hashtags on Instagram. Depending on what your product or industry is, search up those hashtags and use those to search for folks that could be in alignment with your brand. And that will, again, add to your research list because you want to get into who these folks are, the opportunity that you may have to connect with them organically. And whether that is, you know, maybe you purchase a product and you share, or it can look at a myriad of different ways. It's just about you taking that intentional time to research whom is on that list and then finding creative ways to connect with them in an organic level. Spaces like this as well, like just different workshops where folks are coming together to kind of learn, is a great way to meet others who may be on your level, who may be, you know, in a different arena than yourself, but nonetheless you can learn from and possibly collaborate and grow with. Lastly, we want to add value. So by attending potential events that are, you know, your ideal customer could be at, or your internal customer could be, you are looking for ways and opportunities to keep spreading the word about your work and whomever's work is in alignment with yours or whom you may be partnering with. So for instance, again, back to the Adjourn Tea House collaboration, every time I was out and because that was a collaboration that was so actively in my brain, when people would ask me what projects that I have coming up, I'm sharing that when I'm talking about Adjourn Tea House, I'm talking about how great her products were, but it's a natural thing because of the relationship now that I've built and established with Adjourn Tea House. So community of commerce is really, really huge, guys, especially in this age when it's kind of like, you know, social distancing is the new norm, but that doesn't mean that we have to be disconnected, especially when it comes to our customers. And additionally, when it comes to just partnering with other businesses. Although businesses are closing down physically, there are plenty of platforms that will allow you to showcase your product and help you to expand your reach. And collaborating is definitely one of those things, but researching will help you surely. So any questions?
I just want to remind everyone to please check yourself very quickly to make sure that you are muted. Hearing some slight rumbling in the background. I just want to make sure that everyone can hear Sam as clearly as possible. So if you could please just check real quick to make sure you're muted, that would be amazing. And as far as questions, it looks like we have three. The first one is from MC again, and they say, how is your partnership with the retail store? How is your partnership with the retail stores look like? Is it consignment basis or direct purchase? Thank you. That's a great question.
I'm sorry, before we get into that, I hate to name names, but a participant, Richie Queen, needs to mute themselves. We still haven't seen them turn off, and we're getting a lot of background noise from Richie Queen. Please mute yourself.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
To answer that first question, Brian, I will actually be exploring more of the different arrangements that you can have as it pertains to product placement. So thank you for being on top of it and a little early, MC. But yes, the next slide will go into detail as far as those arrangements and what that could look like in the contract space and just making sure you protect yourself.
Okay, we have another question from Nicole. They say, hey Sam, I just started my online store in November. I'm trying to reach more customers. What is the best way for me to do so when you're new? Thanks. Thank you, Nicole.
Well, Nicole, I would love to help you directly. I know that's more of a specific specific to your business. I would love to know what you sell. That really would help me in trying to kind of plug some ideas for you. But when you're new, the most important thing is just to continue to put out content. If you got a social media page, If you've got any other platforms or outlets where you can connect with your audience, continue to do that. It's about building your story first, because it needs to be clear and cohesive before you can actually convert, customers to sale. So congratulations on starting your business. That's amazing. Awesome job for, hopping out on faith and getting rid of those fears and doing it. My biggest recommendation is just to keep create content, product, share it on your social media pages, and research where your clients' customers can be found, and then find those creative ways to connect with them. I know that's super vague right now because I don't know your industry specifically. I'm sure I'd be able to give you a little bit more help if I knew what it was that you sold.
Okay, and we're gonna take these last two questions during this period of questioning. The first one is from Katie, and they say, "Hi Sam, can you include some of your favorite local DMV women-owned business groups you recommend for collaborating?"
Well, I'll be honest with you. I don't know. I mean, I honestly would recommend all of them, but it's all about timing, and it's all about making sure that it's an organic connection. I think the biggest rule of thumb when it comes to collaborating and even like retail placement, it's about making sure that you create a relationship that's sustainable. So you don't want to go in and just be kind of like a one-hit wonder, like, hey, sell my product, okay, bye. So building a relationship is important, and I definitely feel like there are various organizations that can help you. So depending on the industry that you're in, it's going to help you to narrow down what organizations may be in alignment with your mission, with your focus, and have those people involved that could, connect with you and help you grow and expand, and vice versa, because it has to be, a relationship that goes both ways. So we're not just taking and taking here. We have to sow into these spaces also. I'm definitely a part of a lot of different organizations, the Well, in addition to the Black Girl Social Club. But again, finding these organizations is just as simple as looking at, like I said, Eventbrite has different events, and sometimes you'll see who is the organizer of that event, and there might be a name or a contact or an actual organization website that you could visit. So feel free to connect with me directly after, and I'll be happy to share more of what I know.
All right, and the last question for this section of question and answer is from Angelica, and they are saying, "What kind of platforms are you referring to would allow you to expand your reach?"
I actually have a worksheet that I'll be sharing with you all post this call, which has this Research Connect Add Value piece on it, in addition to some organizations and website portals that you can visit. I did mention Clubhouse. Although I'm still navigating that space, I know and I've heard such great things about Clubhouse as a portal to be able to find folks who are interested in the things that you are. So whether that's if you sell vintage clothing or PPE equipment, there is an opportunity for you to find your tribe there. I keep saying Eventbrite because because I love Eventbrite. I literally will go on there and search by industry, by location, for just different virtual events that I can learn from. I'm sorry, Brian. I just drew a blank. What, can you repeat the question again? I want to make sure I hit it completely.
What kind of platforms are you referring to that would allow you to expand your reach?
Gotcha. Yeah. Right now in the virtual space, it's going to be those platforms that show you different virtual events. Eventbrite is one. Meetup is another. Clubhouse, Facebook groups. So all of these social spaces where you can meet and find and connect with your tribe is going to be the space where you need to plug into. So maybe you take an hour and just kind of plug into one outlet and research, do all the digging you can to find folks and Facebook groups or groups that are, that you could benefit from learning from, or whom you can drop into and maybe share your information and get some good feedback. There's a really great group called Build Brand Launch in Facebook. And that group not only has business owners, but business enthusiasts, and it's just a great hub and a resource. You can literally drop in a question about your business and you can receive a response. You can share, information about your product releases, get feedback there. So again, plugging into these social outlets is a really, really great way to maximize trying to expand your reach and at least finding your tribe, whether it be your customer or your entrepreneur tribe who can really kind of, pour into you. So yeah, but again, the sheet that I prepared will have some examples of spaces where you can kind of look into research and connect organically and proceed with your growth. All right, so I want to go over some of the lessons that I learned while going through collaborating and just retail placement. I was completely green before entering into a store. I didn't know what to do, what to expect. I was just really excited that somebody had agreed to carry my product. So some of the lessons that I learned were just having a return and repair policy. Just knowing your policy overall is very, very important. There were instances where the owner, Daniel, would reach out to me because a customer would have a question, like legit on the spot right there. A customer would be purchasing a product and he would be asking about, my return policy, what I would do if this was damaged. And I didn't know. I didn't have it together, but I was able to think of something on the spot. So when that first call happened, it really kind of prompted me to just make sure that I got all my ducks in a row and just, prepared for it. So packaging, I got that squared away, just getting different feedback from the customers. It was really, really great having Daniel and connecting with Daniel like once a month just to get some feedback as far as how customers were responding to the product. He allowed me in to literally merchandise my items and set them up any way that I wanted. So I really loved having that creative control, and it taught me just to be considerate, one, of the space that you're allowed to set up within, and also, whatever it is or focus that the business has at the time as well. So again, it goes back to that adding value piece. Although, yes, For Rent Shoes was offering me value by selling my product, I in turn was adding value to their space because I'm telling people to go to the For Rent Shoes location. I'm providing a great experience as far as shopping because I had nice packaging, my merchandising was cool. In addition to just new collections, I would continuously create. So it was always something fun and new to look forward to. So I was always bringing folks visually back to For Rent Shoes, like, hey, you can purchase my collection here. And also it taught me how to be more efficient in the collaborative space. Again, when you're connecting with a business or a singular person, it's not one-sided. It should never, ever be one-sided. And you should never walk into those business dealings singularly focused on your outcome, your success. Whenever it comes to a collaboration, my brain thinks of it as a peak. So two entities coming together, we should form a peak. So that way, each of us involved can elevate to the next level. It's never supposed to just level out. So whether that's new visibility, a wider audience, just even more inspiration, there should always be some gain beyond just a singular focus of generating revenues. So someone asked a question as far as like the commission and the wholesale space. I've had various relationships with different stockists. I personally like the wholesale piece because it allows you to get the funds up front. Although it is still important for me to continue that relationship throughout our dealing and until that collection is sold with that stockist. So if anybody who doesn't know the difference between consignment and wholesale, consignment is when you place your products in the store, there is a certain percentage amount that goes to the house or the store. Whereas with wholesale, you have the opportunity to create a bulk of product and offer that at a lowered price per unit to whomever is going to resell your product. The most important thing out of all of these business dealings is having a contract, because there are no gray areas. There should be no gray areas when it comes to business. You want to be completely clear as to the expectation, especially as it pertains to the money piece. We want to make sure that you know what you're to provide, and the entities who's selling or reselling your product, they know what to furnish as well. So preparing yourself with a line sheet for your inventory, having your items and knowing what items you plan to sell is very, very good. And keeping it realistic. I know personally, my thing when I first started was my excitement, I think kind of kind of made me bite off more than I can chew in a lot of different spaces, because I was just so ready to expand my reach that sometimes I didn't give any thought to the things that mattered, i.e. the design, the materials that I would need to purchase to make sure that I could create the amount of units that I had committed myself to. So you definitely want to be honest with yourself. Do not bite off more than you can chew, because in the space of collaborating and dealing with other entities, you want to be on the up and up. You never want to overpromise and underdeliver. So making sure that your contract is very clear and cohesive, that it outlines and protects you is super important. So you definitely set the expectation, and having a pop kit, like the merchandising items, are very key because your brand is speaking for you in your absence. So you don't want to give any space for the reseller, stockist to be frustrated basically when selling or reselling your product. You want to make sure they have all of the things to make it super easy for them. They're already going to be a brand ambassador for you. They've already committed to selling your product. So make sure that you have your items in a row, your labels, your business cards and packaging. Make it super easy for them. Even create a checklist so that you know the inclusions in your pop kit and all of those things that are going to, again, speak for your business in your absence. It should still have that same energy as if you were there. So just take the time to craft the pop kit and all the things and the inclusions. Any questions? All right, so we kind of reviewed this a little bit, but just to dive a little bit more. So some places may actually have a contract that you will just need to review and sign. Be vigilant about reading all of the information. There was an instance where I had a company, I won't say the name, and he requested a certain amount of units, and it was a commission agreement. He was to pay me once a month for the product. When I came into the store to see the product on sale, what I had priced as a $25 bracelet, he had priced at $90. Yes. So this is why the contract is so important, because you want to make sure that you protect yourself and also protecting your customer, because there's no reason why your customer should go into or onto your website and be able to purchase a product for this amount and then go into a local retailer and then find that it's, a crazy markup. So lesson learned for me to make sure that, again, there were no gray areas. I did not check. I was way too excited and anxious. But make sure that your pricing is clear. So if someone is reselling your product, make sure that they know that there is a suggested retail price and that it should not exceed that amount. Additionally, any kind of, return policies or what have you, just make sure that that is completely clear, guys. I cannot express that enough, because the person selling the product, the stockist carrying your items, they're worried generally about more than just your product. So it's your responsibility to make sure that all of those things are ironed out. The payment schedule as well, you want to be clear as to when you can expect payment. And also, should anything happen, to the store per se, let's say if the store gets robbed or, God forbid, somebody comes in and just takes all the merchandise and leaves. You want to make sure that there's some kind of language within the contract to support protecting your company, your product, your merchandise. And additionally, the time period for when you will be having your merchandise in the store. Sometimes there may be an actual limit to the length of time that you can have your product in store. If it doesn't sell within that time frame, the stockist may ask you to either, shift out the collection or, maybe try again another season, or sometimes just discontinue the relationship overall. But nonetheless, just being clear about the time period will help you to be on top of making sure that you, provide them what they need, also can notify your customers and continue to keep a good expectation. Any questions?
Hi, Sam. Can you hear me? Hi, Sam. Can you hear me? Yeah, you can. Can you hear me? I have one question. Yeah.
MC, can you please mute yourself? Thank you very much. And again, if everyone has a question, please quietly drop it into the chat. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Hello?
Yes, was there a question?
Yes, I'm sorry, I'm on the phone, so I can't type in the texting box.
No problem.
Question is it a bad thing to have your product overpriced? Because I worked at the Four Seasons, and we have say a $10 nail polish. They sold it for 30, which is by retail, but that's how they marked it up. So is it always a bad thing to have someone mark it up that high?
You know, okay, so let me just make sure I'm clear and I heard you correctly. So you have a product that was priced at $10, which Four Seasons now carries, and they've marked it up to $30.
I'm sorry, I do not have any products. I used to work there, and a lot of the products that that they were purchased for our division of Four Seasons, our department knowing we could get it at say Sephora for $10, they would mark it up to 30.
I mean, well, personally, I'm a shopper, and if I know that I can get it cheaper from Sephora, then I would just go to Sephora. But also acknowledging that, you know, the Four Seasons has a specific market. So I don't necessarily, I don't want to say that it's a bad thing. I guess I would need a little bit more information to understand, you know, the scope of the story a bit. Because in one hand, I could see it being a detriment to the customer, especially if they know that they can get the item for a lower price. But on the other hand, I could also see it being a good thing for maybe the brand, because if the Four Seasons has increased the pricing to this amount, perhaps the brand can now look into increasing their prices overall, because there would be value there. They would see, you know, if Four Seasons had generated enough sales, I guess, for them to be swayed to increase their prices. But I think that's a little bit of a different question. I think in my, you know, what I was mentioning as far as me making something at a certain price and selling it on my website for that price versus a retailer increasing the price. It's just my customer, I don't want them to experience that hike in price. There is value in getting your product in different entities and different spaces, but that really will be an individual judgment call. To see if it's worth it to you. And sometimes it is. Sometimes you will have your product inserted into different spaces, and perhaps the value of that larger company name, because it, you know, they have a lot of visibility, it could help to catapult your business to a different pool. But I think that's more of a case-by-case scenario. With what you shared, I would definitely be going to Sephora directly and getting my $10 polish.
All right, looks like we have a question from Richie. And they are saying, is there a rule of thumb that you use to determine your price?
Yes, there is an actual equation that I have, and because I am a creative through and through, guys, but there are equations that you can research, look into to figure out how to price your product. I'm pretty sure, you know, Made in Baltimore probably has some resources that you can look into. You can check YouTube University is really great also for just kind of shedding some light on different areas within your business as well. So even researching how to develop a product pricing model would be ideal for you. But yes, I absolutely do have an equation that I use. It accounts for my labor, my materials, and yes, so I do that each time before I actually submit the pricing on my website. So my husband has helped me out with that tremendously because he's really good with numbers. I just love creating the things. Any other questions?
All right. It looks like we have, so we're going to take these last two questions for this section of question and answer. One is, when you list your product with a new retailer, do you spend time going into the store to promote your product? How long and how frequent do you do that, please?
Yes. And yes, in short, the answer is yes. This is a part of the add value piece, guys. So again, you're not just going to drop your products off and expect the company to just sell it for you. So it's about maintaining that relationship and keeping a consistent dialogue with them, and also keeping that consistent dialogue with your customer as well. So you definitely want to, it depends on, honestly, it depends on the stockist that you are partnered with. Developing that expectation between you both is very, very important, because they may have a system in place already that you would just have to kind of fall in with. But of course, if you have a little bit more creative autonomy, then you can kind of play it to your advantage, but just be mindful of course, making sure that you know, if you're going to place your product somewhere, I'm pretty certain that you're not just going to stop there. You're still probably going to continue to create product to put on your website, and depending on, you know, the kind of product that you have, maybe even do some pop-ups safely. So definitely make sure that you have that expectation outlined between you and the stockist first, and I think that will set the tone for how you manage your product coming in to make the changes and swaps. As far as notifying your customers about events and things, I actually would let my customers know daily through my social media portals that you can go and shop here for my product. Why? Because people forget. There's so many different distractions that we're fed that sometimes, you know, it just slips your mind. So that me notifying my customer about product availability and location would look like me in my Insta story saying, check out this store, shop this weekend from this time to this time. Or it would look like a newsletter going out to my audience once a week with perhaps a main page or a main post, like a main message. Perhaps it's a new product I'm sharing. And then underneath, you would see a little blurb about where you could shop my products in person. So it's always about keeping that consistent messaging to your customer, because they do forget. And I am guilty, I will say, I am guilty of, in the past, I have kind of put things out there once, and then it would be crickets for a while. And then I would be like, well, why isn't anyone coming and purchasing? But the name of the game here is just continue to let them know, continue to communicate. Think of it like a conversation. You know what I mean? You should be conversing with your customers through social media, I would say at least once a day, whether it's hello, whether it's good night or something. But especially in this age of social distancing, connecting with your customer through that space at least once a day just lets them know there's still a pulse there with your brand. And people get bored really easily. So connecting through social media once a day, and maybe through your email list once a week, definitely make sure that your customer stays engaged with you. So once a day on social media, tell your folks where they can buy your product. Once a week through your email lists, tell your folks about any new products and or where they can shop and purchase.
Awesome. And the last question for this period of question and answer is, do you spend time training the retailer or their employees about your product and selling technique?
Good question. So I don't train them per se, but I am actively in the works of kind of creating, I guess, a brand culture, FAQ, like a what do you call it? Like a one-page sheet that just kind of gives some insight as to how my brand works and how I deliver service. So, for instance, with my product, with my healing hardware, to package the item, it includes one bracelet, one healing hardware piece, bracelet, one card, one business card, and it comes inside of a dust bag. So at minimum, those who are in charge of my products for resale, I let them know that that is the packaging process. There are other dust bags that I have without a logo that are assigned to different products. So I also let them know that. So that is something that you can develop. I don't necessarily train them. It's more or less a nice little email with some bullet points as to how I package my product, and to how I handle any kind of issues or customer concerns or requests. Putting that together and having that prepared to go just goes right back to that space of just making sure that you are ready before you insert yourself into these spaces. You kind of at least have a good idea of what's it going to take to communicate your brand in a clear way. So yes, add that to your package, to your, to your list of items to include, almost like a brand culture work page with some little details about how you operate your product, how you package them. Those little, subtle nuances, make sure that they know. And I'm pretty sure they'll do their best to execute. But again, it's just all about creating that expectation. So although a physical training may not be necessary, make sure that you list them out either in your contract or separately so that it can be received by the party that's going to sell your product. All right. Well, that's actually it for today. I know some of you had like specific questions, so I am for sure available if you have a moment and you want to maybe like do a quick check-in. We can certainly do that. But ultimately, the most important rule of thumb is to research outlets to find companies, entities who could benefit from partnership or reselling your product. In this age of COVID, it's going to be the e-commerce space mostly. So you're going to be looking and trying to research different platforms where folks are selling online. And there's so many different spaces now where folks are literally kind of curating a directory of just different businesses that you can shop, and or some companies are maybe even tapping local makers to create private label products for them. So it's really about researching and keeping an open mind. There is so much of an opportunity for us to thrive here. But if we get focused on the limitation of COVID and the social distancing and everything, then we're gonna fail. We're gonna fold. So our focus should be on flourishing and finding creative and innovative ways to connect with our audiences organically. Trying to find those folks whom we can collaborate with, and we can definitely continue to grow our businesses in this space. So I want to thank David. Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just saying we have one more question, but that is from MC, and they are saying, do you do discounts when you partner with retail stores?
I only did a discount when I saw that the products weren't moving. So when I first placed my products there, I would give it a bit of time to see how it would perform. If there was, if it was a length of time, maybe a month has gone by, a month and a half, and those products were still sitting there, then I would offer an incentive for customers to go in and buy. And then I would tell my customers that they could take advantage of that percentage sale and go into the store to purchase. A lot of this is kind of putting it out there and testing and failing, honestly, guys. Like I said, me first getting into my first store was a process of learning. I was just more excited than I was prepared. I'll say that. So this, learning through them and just continue to kind of stockpile my experiences has really helped me to kind of have these things ready to go now. So it's so much easier now that I've grown in my knowledge base for me to have all of my ducks in a row. Now, as I get to larger entities, bigger companies, of course, there's still going to be a learning curve there. But for right now, I'm feeling pretty confident in where I'm going. Thank you, Richie.
Oh.
So that is a new collection that I'll be rolling out soon. The Sovereign State University is a new collection. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you. Stay the course. Stay the course. Now more than ever, we are in a creative space. There's so many opportunities. The only limitations that we have are the ones that we place on ourselves. That's it.
All
But
right.
thank you, guys.
Thank you all. Yeah. Sorry, Sam, go ahead.
No, that's it. Thank you. I appreciate you all.
Yeah, and just so everyone knows, we have a special surprise for you all for staying so long. We have Sean here from the BDC, the Baltimore Development Corporation, who has some amazing business resources to share with us in a quick 5-minute presentation. So if you could stay on for a couple more minutes, we will go ahead and pass the torch to Sean to get that going.
Thank you, everyone, and thank you, Sam, for that great presentation. I just wanted to spend quick 5 minutes on this new tool that we're developing. We're trying to position the BDC as a connector of all of these points of capital that exist in the city. We want to do a better job of connecting entrepreneurs to capital, because that's the #1 question that we get asked on a daily basis. Where and when should I see capital for my business in Baltimore? We developed this tool to kind of map out all of the capital in Baltimore. We're hoping to make this public in the next couple of months. Can everyone see my screen? Perfect. So basically, this is a tool on Coggle. The question is, where can I seek money for my business? Depending on if you're pre-revenue, pre-sales, or if you're already making sales, you click on one. And this is the tool in its beta stage, so I would love any feedback or any questions you may have on it. It's creating a pathway based on, if you have collateral, if you don't have collateral, kind of where your credit score is at. And based on all of those factors, you can click on, maybe you're interested in seeing all the different crowdfunders who have traditionally helped businesses in Baltimore. And as you can see, the crowdfunders, kind of their cap rate, their loan range, their contact name. And this is, continually being filled out as well. Or maybe you just want to look at all the CDFIs and government agencies that are giving information. Can you see the page that's opening? Yeah. Okay. So these are all like the CDFIs, Baltimore Development Corporation included. Their loan range, their credit score requirements, their interest rates, their terms, and contact information. So we want to do a better job of mapping out all of the capital in Baltimore, where it exists, and the terms that are applied to it. And we want to make sure that, as entrepreneurs, that this information is, accessible and helpful to you. We've listed kind of all the VCs also in the area. As you can see, there are a lot of VCs. I've tried to list their investment criteria, their typical investment size, again, name of contact, and their contact information. So that's just a quick preview of this tool that we're coming out with. Please let me know if you have any questions, any suggestions. I would love to hear them. Again, it's in its kind of beta phase, so we're continually reiterating on it.
Sean, since this isn't quite ready, if there's anyone in the room today that is interested in pursuing this further, could they reach out to you directly?
Of course, yeah.
Could you
definitely? I'll include my email address in the chat.
Thanks. And one of the things that we like to do at Made in Baltimore is help connect businesses to sources of capital to get their businesses growing. So we're excited about this new tool that Sean's developing. I hope it's useful for some folks today.
And sorry, I didn't really give an intro, but my name is Sean Conratner. I'm an economic development officer for the Baltimore Development Corporation, which is the economic development agency for the city of Baltimore. And our whole goal is to help bring business to Baltimore, but more importantly, help scale and support the businesses that already exist in Baltimore. Thank you, everyone. I'll stop sharing my screen now.
Thank you. See, you guys are lucky. You got a lot of information here. Thank you all for coming. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Sean. Thank you, BDC. Thank you, M&T Bank. Thank you, PNC Charitable Partners. And thank you to every single one of you who took this chunk of time on your Friday to come sit with us, learn some amazing information, hear some great music at the beginning, see some great business resources at the end. This is why you should tell all your friends about tools of trade, because we got tools, but we also got gems.
And it's free.
Again, thank you.
I'm sorry.
Exactly, and it's free 99. So again, thank you so much, everyone, for coming. I hope all of you have a great rest of your day. If anyone needs any sort of other resources, please reach out to myself. I'm dropping my email in the chat right now. If you are a business in Baltimore that needs a little help, a little advice, or even just someone to talk to about being a small business in Baltimore and trying to make it happen, my email is there. I will be happy to speak with you.
And same here. I'm dropping my email address here as well. I know, again, some of you have some specific questions. I'll be happy to chat with you. I do offer a free check-in call. We can talk for 10 minutes. That's all I need to kind of hear your situation and offer some insight based on my experience. So thank you all so very much for sharing space with us today. And I hope that you have something now that you can kind of take back to the drawing board. And especially that worksheet that you should be getting soon with those questions to really kind of get those wheels turning.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. And remember, this will be available on our website in the coming weeks. Please watch out for your emails because we will make sure that you are the first to know when this is uploaded. Thank you all again and have a great rest of your day.
Peace, guys.
Thank you.